good evening. My name is Wallace Gator Bradley, and I'm the president of United Peace Inc. And I want to let the world know that I thank God for allowing me to have a wonderful woman who is the producer and the executive director of this show, as well as the chairman of United Peace Inc. And her name is Terry Marsh. I'm also blessed to be her husband. I know she know I'm deeply, deeply blessed. But one of the things that's key that's been happening across the country, and everyone is feeling like or knowing that it's the act of God. We're talking about the storms. I want to first say, on behalf of United Peace Inc., me and my family, that we send our condolences to those who have died in the storm. We send our continued prayer to those who have lost everything in the storm. And we also appreciate everyone from the entertainers to the common man and woman around this country and elected officials for coming together to aid and assist those who got caught up in Hurricane Harvey. And now we got another hurricane called Irma that's coming on the town of Florida. I spoke to my brother today that lives in Florida, Dr. Calvin Bradley, and he informed me that he was on the road leaving Florida because the governor has said, everybody get out of Florida. Miami, Florida, South Beach, Florida. And he said the governor made it so plain that he said, we may not be able to come in there and search for you. And we know that we can't protect you from this storm. He's telling everyone to evacuate, get out of there. So my brother's on the road, going to a condominium that he has in North Carolina. And I thank God for blessing him to be able to do that, and others. Caller, I see I got a caller on the line. Could you please state your name and voice your opinion, because your opinion is expected and respected on this show. Callers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is Ray.
Hey, Brother Ray.
And let me get this out of the way. It'd be an honor for me to call you Mr. Gator, my friend. Can I do that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now let me get to what I was going to say. Oh, and another thing, my family is going to pray for your family because of the situation they're in. Thank you. Now, I want to say this. The black man and the brown man have been under the tutelage of the white man for a long time. The white man gave us the right to vote. He knew what he was doing. Because since we got the right to vote, things have gotten worse. Look at our city. Look at the police. Look at it's all gotten worse for us.
Right. Well, I'm gonna share this with you because I got another caller that's coming on, and I got a short time for the show. I see you calling. Ray, I want to say this here. You're absolutely correct. I feel that to the point that one day I was working in a precinct to help someone get elected, and I happened to be reading the Bible. I think it was the first, maybe the second book of Samuel. And I realized that the people once was talking to God to take all their complaints to God. And then they made a decision that they wanted a king. And God said, the people got to be crazy. They're talking to me, yet they want a king. So he let the people have the king. And then the king did something other than what God expected him to do. And so, make a long story short, I believe the first endorsement that God may have made is when he made a decision that David should become the next king. Okay, caller, state your name, voice your opinion.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, Brother Gator, this is Brother Hall, man. What's happening?
Hey, I'm blessed, sir. How you feeling, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Yeah, actually, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the input and that networking with what we did for the Houston piece in terms of sending that water through Operation Push.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, man. Yes, sir. And I actually like to say that I don't think that we really have a disaster plan set up, and that's from city to city. But, well, of course, I can't speak about other cities, but I'm speaking of Chicago. I just don't think that we have that. I don't see that type of cohesiveness that we need to have just in case we
Right.
would run up on a disaster.
But Brother Hall, I want to say this. I don't think man or woman will ever be ready for what God have in store for them or us, man. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
I do believe that.
just like my wife and I a couple of years ago, we were in Savannah, Georgia, and now I'm reading in the paper that 540,000 of the state's coastal residents were told to evacuate Savannah, Georgia, because of Irma. You follow what I'm saying?
I do.
I know a lot of friends that left the city of Chicago because they couldn't stand the cold. They couldn't stand the snow. I know a lot of friends that felt like when they reached what they felt was over middle class, they brought boats and they went to Florida because of South Beach.
That's right.
And I had one friend tell me today he had a lot of friends, he had a lot of family members that left and went to Florida. And I said, wow, man. And he said, you know what, man? I was so happy for them, but I stayed in Chicago. And he said, when they called me and told me they was on their way back here, I was saying to myself, what really could I do to house them? Because I only live in a studio. You follow what I'm saying?
I do.
And I want to say, there's a lot that's happening. I ain't want to get too much on the storm because I believe that was by divine order. That the president came to his senses to deal with the Democrats in order to cut a deal to help make the plan that Barack had with the children who were born of illegal immigrants, but in a sense they weren't really illegal because they was brought here. You follow what I'm saying? And the plan that Obama had was, I remember him asking the state legislature, the government, the senators and congressmen who happen to be Republican, to help make it a law, and they didn't want to make it a law. Well, because of the storms, I see where the president came together to help make a deal with the Democratic leadership. He called them Chuck and Nancy, in order to turn a good idea into the law that Barack Obama wanted to be in the first place. And they all had to come together so that they can raise the debt ceiling in order to have monies to help with Hurricane Harvey victims. Okay? And you may have to do something else that makes sense when everybody got to come together, because it takes all of us to help make things work. Maybe they'll come together around something else. Okay? And for the President Trump to work with Senator Chuck Schumer and the minority leader within the House, Ms. Pelosi, he didn't care what the Republican McConnell and Ryan was talking about. They didn't want him to cut that deal. He said, I got to cut this deal because I just created something by trying to get rid of something that was working out of hate. I believe he did that. trying to get rid of anything Barack Obama is trying to do. But God gonna turn something that he's trying to make bad, gonna turn to something good, you know? And that's a wonderful thing. And I give him and this Chuck and Nancy, hurrah, hurrah, for coming together across party lines to do something right to help Americans. I appreciate that if nobody else do. Well, here's something I think I'm going to be getting used to calling on my shows. A chance encounter. Because Brother Chance is doing so much, you know, and it's wonderful when you see a young man or a young lady that's putting action to their words, okay? And the things that he's doing, they say, Chicago, he's one to watch. On last Friday, he announced his charity had raised $2.2 million in just 6 months to help Chicago public schools supplement art, theater, and musical offerings with the help of the Chicago boards and other generous contributors. 20 CPS schools will receive $100,000 for 3 years of arts programming, from dance classes to theater productions to equipment upgrades. The schools were chosen based on ideals and needs. That's a man that I feel could be a righteous leader for my great-grandson, for me, and others in the city of Chicago that realize it takes all of us to make things right for all of us. Chance, hooray, hooray, and hooray. Okay? And while we speaking about Chicago, went from national to local, at the city council yesterday, it was good that the Chicago alderman pushing the ordinance that says guns and knives at rallies should not be allowed behind what happened in Charlottesville. I agree with that. When you got individuals that's rallying and they pushing hate, I don't believe they should have weapons in their hands. And then when you got individuals that's coming down there to protest against the hate, I don't believe they should have weapons in their hands. Okay? That's a wrong mixture for having a peaceful demonstration. Chicago alderman and the mayor, stand up, let's make it do what it do, because public safety is a serious problem within the city of Chicago. We don't need no one to create any hostility while they're arguing with one another and got weapons in their hands. Another thing that happened down in the city council, because I believe that we as a people should take time to go where our government are legislating at, be it Springfield, be it the county board, be it the city of Chicago, okay? And sometimes take you a good trip and go to Washington, D.C. But I see that they was making an issue of the fact where the clerk, Summers, had made mention a while back about the surplus of a tune of $58 million that he had accumulated from doing wise investments with the pension funds for the city. And he had made mention that he felt some of the money should go to different neighborhoods to help stop the violence. And one of the aldermen asked him where was the money, and Kirk Summers gave us all a lesson, including myself, that his job is to invest the money, to bring in the money. In short, for lack of a better phrase, go get the revenue. go get the money. He don't have the responsibility to be about the expenditure of that money that's in that surplus. Kirk, thank you for that lesson, because I thought that you had the power to say how that money should be spent. Okay, I became wiser by keeping my mouth shut and keep my ears open. Thank you. Hooray, hooray to Kirk Summers. This is the favorite part of the show. How you can get in touch with Wallace Gator Bradley of United Peace Inc. My email address is LAGATOR, the letter B as in boy, the number 4, and the word peace, PEACE, at yahoo.com. Again, my email address is LAGATOR, LAGATOR, the letter B as in boy, the number 4, the word peace, at yahoo.com. And the phone number is 312-371-6914. That's 312-371-6914. Now we come to the county and the soda tax. I'm in support of what those commissioners are doing, because I know it's a hard pill to swallow, and what the president, Tony Prattwinkle, is doing, because he has the responsibility as the county board president to make sure that we have the services to help everyone in Cook County. And if you don't have them taxes to pay for them services, you're not going to have them services. Okay? The people that provide the service are being laid off, from nurses at the hospitals to the county sheriffs, deputy sheriffs at the county sheriff, to the public defenders and the state's attorneys. The biggest thing in the county's budget is public safety, is the county jail and the hospital. So I'm asking those commissioners, stay true to your commitment. I'm telling the voters, you elected the commissioners to do the hard part, and that is to find the money to pay for the services. So those that want to run against those commissioners, here's a lesson. We ended up with Ronna as governor because we said Quinn was not giving the people enough. And then we ended up with someone that wasn't giving us nothing. Learn from that lesson, because I have. Tony and the 8 commissioners that stood with you, I pray that God give you the strength and endurance to stay strong, and I ask that God make the voters continue to re-elect you to that office. Now we with the state. One of the things that was real wild was when Bitch, who's running to be elected governor, made the decision to get rid of his running mate because they didn't see eye to eye over the Middle East situation, mainly the stance that Israel is taking. And it was Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa, the 35th Ward Alderman, who Bliss had chose to be his running mate in his race to be the next governor of Illinois. For whatever reason, he got rid of the man. From what I'm hearing on the streets, there's a lot of voters that's saying that may have tarnished his chance to run to be elected governor, because it shows that he couldn't make a proper decision of a running mate. I don't know if that's a right way to make a decision on who you should vote for, but people pay attention to the mistakes that you make instead of the wonderful things that you can do. But me, I'm with another candidate. I'm not going to name him, but everybody know who I'll be with. Enough of that said. Still, we talking about the wonderful things that the governor has done. We got to give him props when he do something right, because we beat him up when he do something wrong. We've been beating him up for the last 2 years because there was no budget. Ronna to borrow $6 billion to start paying off the state's bills. You got to get that money from somewhere. And yes, the taxpayer is going to be the one that's going to have to pay the money back. He ain't going to take that money out of his pocket to pay that money back. But he had to borrow $6 million to start paying off the state's bills because they hadn't paid, I say, 80% of the bills of the vendors who needed that money in order to keep their businesses open. So he announced the plans Thursday that he was borrowing $6 billion to work on paying down Illinois' massive backlog. That don't mean everybody's still gonna get paid. He paying some of the people, and some of the people he gonna tell them we got to try to find some more money to pay you. So paying some is better than paying none. Now the issue comes up about J.B. Pritzker's donation to Bogovich's former governor's swollen campaign coffers. Well, everyone knows that I'm with Pritzker, and I just want to say this. There's nothing wrong with donating to an individual's campaign. If it was, there would be a lot of people feeling this heat that they're trying to create for J.B. Pritzker. With so much interest on something that's over, the governor, former governor, been in the penitentiary, I think, 4 or 5 years. How Pritzker did anything illegal, he would have been locked up when they locked up Bogovich. So let's pay attention to the platform that every candidate has on what he says he's going to do to help make this state better, instead of getting caught up in the persecution of an individual because of somebody else. Okay? And last but not least, let's talk about this money. Equifax. Everybody say go to Equifax to check on your credit rating. Well, they said that everyone that went to Equifax, they said over 140 some million people, 143 million U.S. consumers may be affected by the cybersecurity attack carried out by the suspected criminal hackers hacking the national credit reporting company's Equifax. That means everybody that called into Equifax to check your credit rating, you had to give your information, social security, driver's license, birth date, and everything else. Your information that you gave them has been hacked. So the individual that hacked and got that information can use that credit rating to make it higher or to make it lower and create bills and problems for you that you know nothing about. All I can say that in this age of data collecting, nothing is safe. All you can do is stay prayerful that the individual don't get your information and do you any harm, and that you find a way to get your identity and everything back. You follow what I'm saying? And that's why I always say, as I end this day, to God be the glory. And In this day and age, there are no secrets. There are many enemies. There are many haters. But I know there's a whole lot of prayers. So keep your faith in God. Don't choke and vote. And I'll see you next week.